Okay guys, so we are going to attempt, or I am going to attempt, a tree ring pour. So we're going to see how it goes. I've seen them done a number of times on YouTube. Kind of like it, kind of don't. We'll see how it goes. This is an 8x10 canvas, and I've got all of my paints mixed. So this one is a combination of white, pale gold, and golden gold interference. So you can see that that's the consistency of my paints. It's kind of like a thick syrup. This one is emerald, cerulean blue, rich gold, sap green, brilliant blue hue, white. And the only things I add to my paint are Floetrol and a tiny bit of water. We're talking like milliliters of water, not a lot, just to get it to the right consistency. I don't measure things, but it's somewhere between a 3-to-1 Floetrol to paint ratio, sometimes 2-to-1. I don't go more than 3-to-1 because I don't want to break down the paint too much. Because then it can separate and get really ugly on the canvas when it dries. And I've even seen it like have a skin on top where the underneath never really dries, and I'm not sure what caused that, but it's kind of nasty. So anyway, moving on. So I'm going to layer my paints. I'm going to start with some white around the edges, and then I'll do my pour. So this is just white with Floetrol and a little bit of water, and I do leave my white a little bit thicker than my colors. It's a denser paint anyway. It's titanium white. It's completely opaque than your colored paints. And the higher quality paint you use, the better you're going to turn out. It's with anything. The better quality ingredients you use when you cook, the better the product when it turns out. And it's kind of the same with painting. Now, that's not to say you have to use the most expensive paint available on the market. I don't. Use what you can afford. But I will say that the craft paints, like for example, this is a craft paint, little 2-ounce bottle. Because this is thinner and they use cheaper pigments in it, cheaper ingredients to make it, it's just a craft paint. It's not intended to be art and to last for a long time. So it's inexpensive. You can use that, but it won't be as good a quality, and you're going to go through a lot more of it than if you buy an 8-ounce tube of actual artist paint. So that's not to make anybody feel bad. That's not to shame anybody. Use what you can afford. Buy it on sale, use coupons. I certainly do. But it's just to give you an idea of what you're buying, what you are spending your money on. And the little craft paints seem like a good deal because you can get them for 50 cents or $1, but you may use this entire bottle in one pour. So is it really worth it? You know, you're not going to get a whole lot of paintings out of that little craft paint bottle. That's all I'm saying. So, got my white on there. Now, going to do the pour. So again, there's no rhyme or reason to how I layer my paints. My craft stick out of the way. In the cup. I just add them. But do keep in mind that whatever color you use most of is the one that's going to show up the most in your final product. So if you dump a whole cup of green and just a tiny bit of gold, you're going to have mostly green and hardly any gold. And you can see that that pale gold paint is kind of the lightest paint in terms of density in there right now because it's all flame to the top. This already looks really pretty. You kind of want to flip cup it, but we're going to see how this goes. Actually, I'm going to add a little more green. Okay. I'm not going to spin it, I'm just going to pour it and see what happens. And there's no silicone in this. I get a little closer so you can see what's going on there. No silicone in this. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of cells. I like a few, but I'm not cell centric, if you will. So I've not tried the silicone as of yet. I do want to try it, but I'm just having so much fun with these without it that I haven't felt the need to add it yet. And I'm not tilting this a lot, just a few degrees at a time. Because I do want to keep some of the white space, or negative space, if you will. I really like how that blue is looking, so I'm going to see if I can try to get more of that to show up. I'm really liking that. I think that looks really cool. So I did spin this at first, but then about the rest of the 2/3 of the way of the pour, I didn't spin it. I just let it bead in the middle. And I really like these striations of color. And I am getting a few cells, not a lot, but I do like what I'm seeing. And I am going to use a heat gun, and that's not to bring up cells necessarily, it is to help pop some of those surface bubbles I can see in the paint from mixing it up. I'm just using a paper towel to get the excess paint off my gloves so I can touch stuff without ruining everything. And I'm holding this about, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches off the surface because I don't want to heat it necessarily, just to get those surface bubbles to pop. Because if you do hold this on the paint, it'll cause it to separate, because it'll essentially cook the very top layer of paint, dry it out, and then cause it to break. And that's not a good look. This is not nearly the level of heat that a torch will give you. This is actually a tool used in paper crafting to do heat embossing. So it will burn you, but it's not a torch. It's not nearly that level of hot. I'm going to add a tiny bit of white just to that corner. Just to even that out a little bit. And then a tiny bit to this corner as well.